Welcome into Texans Today, everybody. I'm your host, Jeremy Chuggs, and on today's show, we've got some winners and some losers on the Texans roster after the 2025 NFL Draft. And I'm just going to say this from the jump. I'm not calling these guys losers. I'm not saying these guys are bad at their job. What I'm saying is the picks that the Texans made might make it more difficult for these guys to either play their best in 2025 or make the roster in 2025. That's what I mean by winners and losers. Either, maybe you got some help during the draft. Maybe you had a position where, you didn't really get much competition against you in the draft. That could make you a winner or a loser in my eyes. And that's going to be breaking down on today's program. But I've got a quick question for you guys down in the comment section. I was thinking about doing maybe like some sort of Texans meetup at some point this season, maybe before maybe one of the games, doing like a Friday, Saturday hangout at a bar around Houston. Spam those H's if you be down to do some sort of Texans meetup. I was thinking about doing it with a couple other content creators, maybe have some fun. I'd like to meet up with a lot of y'all, maybe do a giveaway or two. I don't know. Let me know down in the comment section, though, if that's something you're interested in. Go down and spam those H's if you're down for a Texans meetup at some point this year. As we get right into the winners after the draft, it's got to be my man right here, C.J. Stroud. Yeah, I'm telling you, he must have been absolutely glowing after day two because, they go two wide receivers who are excellent in this draft, both from Iowa State. And, you have to be really happy if you're C.J. Stroud after weapon after weapon after weapon went down last year. You get two young guys who should be able to come in and immediately improve this wide receiver room alongside Nico Collins. You also got really sneakily a amazing pass catching back in Woody Marks in the fourth round. So these three new receiving weapons for C.J. Stroud, I think he'd be very pleasantly surprised after seeing these guys, on the field, especially during OTAs, during practice, and see what they've got. I think C.J. Stroud is a happy camper in that aspect after the 2025 NFL Draft. Now, to another winner, Juice Scruggs. They went with one offensive lineman in this year's draft, and he was a tackle guard guy. So it looks like Juice, they're letting him have the mantle for that center position as of now. I can maybe see him be center. I think he's either the starting center or starting guard. I think he's starting one way or another on this Texans team week one, barring any injury. I really do, because you look at this offensive line depth chart now, and this is how I have it laid out after the draft. I might be wrong. I might be reading into too many things. I think they're going to still start Cam Robinson for this year at left tackle. Ariante Ursary, start him at left guard. Then you got Juice Scruggs. I think Laken Tomlinson, D'Amico Ryans really trust Laken from their time back in San Francisco. I could see him fitting into that right guard. And then Titus Howard or Blake Fisher, one of those guys being your right tackle of the future. I could see this being the lineup for the Texans week one, the guys that they roll out there on the front five. So I could see, like I said, Juice Scruggs, no matter what, I think he starts for this team. But I think pleasantly surprised in that it sounds like the front office, it sounds like the coaching staff have a lot of trust in him still going into year three. This is a make it or break it year for Juice Scruggs. I'd like to see him really take that center position by the reins and really take advantage of it and be a great center for this Texans team moving forward. Another winner in my eyes, Cade Stover, tight end. There was a lot of chatter that the Texans were going to go tight end early. Even Ian Rappaport put out that crazy story about, there was teams calling up, and then once the Bears took Colston Loveland, then the calls magically stopped around the Houston Texans. I don't believe that to be true. I actually have it from inside sources that the Texans were actually talking to the Dallas Cowboys whenever they were on the clock at pick 12, trying to move up to get Tyler Booker. Obviously, the Texans weren't able to make that trade happen. They couldn't agree to terms with the Dallas Cowboys. But great news for Stover, because the only guy they drafted was a 7th-round pick in Lachey. And I think really, right now I have Dalton Schultz as the tight end 1, Cade Stover as the tight end 2. I think that could change, guys. I really think Cade Stover at some point this year could take over Dalton Schultz. After this year, the Texans can save $11 million by cutting him. His contract is much more team-friendly after this year to move on from Schultz. So I think they're looking for Stover or maybe, I don't know, Brevin Jordan, even maybe Lachey to really step up in this new Nick Caserio offense where he loves using those tight ends. But I have a quick question for you. I think it's Cade Stover. I think year 2, they're really going to give him the reins. Dark horse, Brevin Jordan coming back from injury. But I want to know from you, which tight end do you think on this roster has the most catches this season? Go down in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts. If you get hit with the YouTube ad break here, all good. Scroll on down and let me know, what tight end do you think gets the most catches for the Texans this year? Next winner on my list, I'm going to go with Henry To'oTo'o, linebacker. Kind of the same thing as Stover and Scruggs. They didn't really address the linebacker spot at all during this draft. So I think that means they really feel comfortable with the guys that they have in this room right now. And Henry To'oTo'o, I think, really improved last year. I follow his wife on TikTok. She has great content. If you want to check out what Henry's doing this offseason, just follow Cheyenne To'oTo'o on TikTok. She's got the whole regimen of him working out and everything up there for us. I love her videos. If you're watching, Cheyenne, love the content. But I really do think Henry To'oTo'o is going to take that next step this year. And right now, I have him with Azeez Al-Shaair definitely starting. I have Christian Harris slotted in there right now with possibly EJ Speed working in there. I think it's the solidified 2 starters now. Azeez Al-Shaair, Henry To'oTo'o, and then you have EJ Speed and Christian Harris kind of vying for that 3rd linebacker spot. I think he comes out a real winner after this draft, and as he should. He put up great numbers last year for the Texans. 105 tackles, 1.5 sacks, 7 tackles for loss, 1 forced fumble. He really showed up for this Texans defense. D'Amico Ryan's a former linebacker. He knows his stuff when it comes to linebackers. So if he really trusts To'oTo'o, I'm excited to see what he can bring to the field this season. Now, let's go to Tim Settle, defensive tackle, and more importantly, nose tackle, which the Texans, they drafted a guy in round 7. But overall, I think Tim Settle, after signing a team-friendly 2-year deal last year, he could be a guy who, at some point this year, he's only 27 years old, could vie for a contract extension if he plays his ass off. And I think Tim Settle, that's what they're really hoping that can happen this year on this Texans defensive line, because it's a stacked unit. And I kind of spread it out this way because there are so many names, for one, but 2, I really do think this is kind of a good representation of how it's going to look, right? Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter on the outside as your defensive ends. You have Barnett and Darrell Taylor as the rotation guys. Danico Autry, Mario Edwards Jr., Sheldon Rankins as your defensive tackles. But at true nose, like lining up in front of the center, I think Tim Settle is your main guy. He is the best player that you have right now on the team to fit that role. Now, Foley Fatukasi, injury, he hasn't signed with the team yet, so that could be a possibility for this Texans team moving forward if they're getting closer to, OTAs, preseason, and they don't like the other defensive tackles in this room, or / nose tackles in this room. You could see a re-signing of Foley Fatukasi and him and Tim Settle kind of pair up as those nose tackle duos. But Tim Settle, I mean, the ball's in your court, man. You have a chance to really make some money this year. I think the Texans loved what they saw out of you last year, and they want to see a repeat of that this year. Can you reproduce? I think you can. I loved what I saw out of Settle last season, and I'm excited to see him be the starting nose tackle for this Texans team in 2025. Now, coming up, some losers after the NFL draft on this Texans roster. Like I said, nothing personal, but I think these guys maybe lost something or maybe got some competition going forward towards the preseason, OTAs, minicamp, and everything that they're really going to have to work their tail off if they want to contribute or / even make this roster. I'll tell you who those players are in just a moment, but quick shout out to our friends over at Fanatics. If you need a new Texans jersey, maybe a new CJ Stroud jersey, just go to chatsports.com/Texans jerseys. All of them available for you right now. All different, colors, sizes, all different players available. I love the H-Town alternates as well. You can get C.J. Stroud. They also have, Nico Collins. They have Derek Stingley. A bunch of different jerseys available for you if you head over to that link right there, chatsports.com/Texans jerseys. I'll put that link for you in the comment section and description of today's video. One more time, it's chatsports.com/Texans jerseys. If you're looking for a new jersey, they got you covered thanks to our friends over at Fanatics. I know I had him as a winner, but I also have C.J. Stroud as a loser after this draft. And simply because I showed you that O-line depth chart earlier, I'm just totally not sure on who starts and where. Because as I look at this Texans offensive line depth chart again, this is the best guess that I put for it. Cam Robinson at left tackle, Ariante Ursary at left guard, Scruggs at center, Laken Tomlinson at right guard, Titus Howard at right tackle. I will say this. The Texans, they have 16 offensive linemen on the roster. There's a lot of competition, which is good. You need that healthy competition. The cream will rise to the top. But the only question is, even if you have the 10 best guys from this 16, if you weed out the guys who aren't the best on this team, do you have any elite guys? Do you have any offensive linemen that are really going to move the needle? Any offensive linemen that could vie for, maybe a Pro Bowl or, getting some sort of recognition because they are so good? That's what I think the Texans lack right now. I think they maybe got better as a well-rounded unit and maybe can work better together in this new Nick Caserio system. But in terms of just raw talent and athleticism, the Texans, I don't think their offensive line has that. I don't think they have the juice. I don't think they have an elite guy like you see, like they had in Laramie Tunsil, like a, former Dallas Cowboys Zach Martin. He's an elite left guard. Or you see the Eagles. They have Jordan Mailata and Lane Johnson, who are both booking elite tackles. I don't think the Texans have that. But the good thing is they have a lot of young guys on this team, right? Blake Fisher, really young. Ariante Ursary, they just drafted, really young. Hopefully those guys get better, get in the weight room, really improve to become one of those elite level guys. But at the moment, I don't really see it for this Texans team, which makes C.J. Stroud, in my mind, a loser coming out of this draft because he was running for his life last year. And I think C.J. Stroud, when protected and when he has time, is a top 5 quarterback in this league. He just needs to get better protection this year from this Texans offensive line. Now, let's go into the next loser of this draft, Dameon Pierce. The Texans traded up in round 4 to get Woody Marks, and I've been a huge Dameon Pierce guy. I like Dameon Pierce. His rookie season was awesome for this Texans team, right? And even last year, that game against the Patriots where he busted off that long run for a touchdown, that was absolutely electric, and he does bring you something in the kick return game as well, but with the addition of Marks, I slotted him in as the RB2 for now. Joe Mixon, Woody Marks. And the only thing is, if Woody Marks is the RB2, how many running backs do you keep on this roster? Because you have fullback, right? You could either have British Brooks or Jakob Johnson. You re-signed Dario Gumbawale, who this team really likes because of his versatility and pass blocking and ability in special teams. Do you keep 5 guys in this room, right? I think you're going to keep 3 running backs and a fullback. Maybe they try to move Dameon Pierce to a fullback spot. I don't think that will really equip with his skill set. So I think he could be the odd man out. I really like Dameon Pierce, but I just don't see where he really fits on this roster moving forward after the addition of Woody Marks. Now, the next loser of this draft, and it's actually a whole room, because I talked about, the Texans, they drafted the 2 guys out of Iowa State, Higgins and Knoll. Now, what does this mean for the rest of these guys, right? There's going to be a true battle at the back end of this roster for wide receiver 5 and wide receiver 6, if they even keep 6 this offseason. John Mechie III, he's going to be fighting for a roster spot. He showed a lot last year, and I think he showed improvement, obviously, after having to sit out his rookie year due to battling cancer. But it's going to be a tough go for him and some of these guys on the back end of this roster to make this team. Same with Xavier Hutchinson. He brings you stuff in special teams as well as a gunner, somebody who can help you on kick off, kick return, punt return. He can do it all in that aspect, but actually being a receiver, he's very inconsistent in being able to create separation and get open for CJ Stroud. He had some good catches last year, but still only 12 receptions, 117 yards in a Texans wide receiver room that was already depleted. Braxton Berrios, he's somebody who the Texans added, and he's more of a special teams guy. Like, he's a special teams punt return, kick return guy. Had no receptions last year for Miami. Braxton Berrios is what he brings in the special teams enough to, value a roster spot on this Texans wide receiver depth chart. And lastly, Justin Watson, who just for absolute luck, maybe should be on this roster because he's gone to the Super Bowl with the past 3 teams that he's played for. But Justin Watson, another guy who I think could be a dark horse to make this Texans roster. Last year, 22 receptions, 289 yards, and 2 touchdowns playing for Kansas City. The harsh reality is it's the NFL. And at least 2 of the guys that I just showed you out of those 4 will get cut this offseason. Either, like I said, Mechie, Hutchinson, Berrios, or Watson. Though all 4 of those guys will not make the squad because I think the 4 roster locks right now are Nico Collins, Christian Kirk, and the 2 rookies, Noel and Higgins. And I think they're going to put Tank Dell on the IR to start the year, so he won't take up a roster spot. So you'll still have 2 open spots left, but it's really going to be interesting to see who they pick for those last 2 spots in the wide receiver room. Let's go to the next guy, Jimmie Ward. And he's somebody who I think most Texans fans have kind of, wanted to see on the way out just because he just has, the best ability is availability. And I think Jimmie Ward is a decent player, probably a better than decent player, a good player whenever he is healthy. But that's the problem. He hasn't been healthy the past few years. He's getting up there in age. Yes, he's somebody who knows the DeMeco Ryans system, is a leader in the locker room, somebody who can really help this, young group of secondary players really come together. But you kind of have that now in Derek Stingley, right? He just got a contract extension. He should be, the older guy in the room to help out. And you just drafted 2 guys in the secondary. You drafted Reed, who I think is a sleeper from this draft. They got him in the 6th round, and he should be in the rotation to help out with some safety reps and something in the special teams. And then you also drafted Jalen Smith early on out of USC, who kind of plays the same role that Jimmie Ward does, right? He's a nickel corner who's a little bit smaller, but also brings a big hammer and is not afraid to hit guys in the run game. Kind of plays that similar role to a Jalen Petrie. So I just don't know where Jimmie Ward fits. Now, he's a DeMeco Ryans guy. He's been with DeMeco Ryans for a while now, and so that could, earn him a little leeway in that aspect. But at the end of the day, he's going to be fighting for a roster spot, and especially depending on his health going into OTAs, going into minicamp, is going to determine more on whether Jimmie Ward stays or not. I think that's going to be the biggest determining factor on whether he stays is his health. And the last loser after the draft, the rest of the AFC South. Because the Texans are about to blow the doors off of you 3 years in a row. I'm talking to you, Titans fans, Jags fans, Colts fans. I'm talking to you, directly to you right now. We're going for the 3-peat. The Texans are taking it back to back to back. The AFC South runs through Houston, the 2-8-1. I don't care if you got Travis Hunter. I don't care if you got Cam Ward. The Texans are here to dominate, and they will continue to do that. So the rest of the AFC South, you better go get your blanket, go get your nightlight, because the Texans are your worst nightmare, and they are a reality. So you know what? AFC South, I'm talking to you, Titans, Jags, and Colts fans. Better luck next year, because the Texans, they're taking the division championship once again.